I will be your host of the session and helping facilitate with Q&A. My name is Holly from the Unearthed team and part of the TAD team as well. And we have some fabulous speakers joining us today from the TAD ecosystem and across our partners. So very excited to share with you a lot about what's going on with Open House and some other challenges as well. And you have all the right people on the call to ask lots of good technical questions and good questions about focuses of innovation as well. So our speakers for today are Mariel Renteria from BHP, Jessica Doherty from Think and Act Differently, and Chris Elkins from Envelo. So I will hand it over to Jess to kick off the session.
Thank you so much, Holly. Hi, everybody. As always, I will start today with the acknowledgement of country. We pay respect to the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. And I pay my respects to their elders, their past, present, and emerging. Thank you. If we go to the next slide, hopefully many of you already know who TAD is. So Think and Act Differently is a human-first technology and resource development ecosystem where all of the curious minds like yours come together from inside and outside the mining sector to try to tackle some of these big complex issues that we all feel so passionately about. We are focused on accelerating mine design process and creating new pathways to integrate the technologies in the market required to build the modern mine. So that's where all of you come in. We truly believe that the ecosystem is our superpower, and it is comprised of a diverse group of individuals and organizations that enable us to make informed decisions really quickly and efficiently and unlock the meaningful change in the system that we all are here to see and create. So the open house is always open. That's all right, you can skip forward. It's our front door for your ideas to help us connect them to the right opportunities and the right experts within and outside of our business. And additionally, we're exploring some specific areas of interest that will further our current work plan. So there are 3 of those that I'm going to hand to Chris from Envelo, who's part of our contingent team, to talk through. I've asked Chris to join us from a technical perspective today, but we also have a lot of other people on the line who can contribute to that. So over to you, Chris, to talk about preconditioning rock, please.
Thanks, Jess. So in a nutshell, so the process of mining hard rock obviously uses a lot of energy to break down the rock, whether it's in situ or once it's been extracted from the mine. Preconditioning is all around a process of weakening that rock, trying to take advantage of the underlying natural heterogeneity or mineralogy within the resource to apply energy to make it easier for us to extract it. So we want to reduce the energy required to break the rock from its in situ position, so i.e. reduce the amount of blasting that's required, potentially enable more precise mining methods, more or less waste to be extracted, create smaller particles that reduce the overall energy required downstream in the mill process, create more surface area in the rock so that we can get the lixiviant or the chemicals in so that we can extract more of the underlying mineral that we're trying to extract, and weaken the rock prior to comminution. So the actual challenge, so there's a number of preconditioning technologies that have been explored. So for example, microwave preconditioning, heating up different parts of the mineral, the heat transfers at different rates, therefore that creates stress fractures between different parts of the mineral. High voltage pulse is another good example that's been investigated quite a bit in the past. However, these technologies are often applicable to specific underlying mineralogies and ore types, and we have yet to see commercially viable solution become available. So what we'd like to see is how might we make preconditioning more efficient to include in our extraction process. If it's in situ, could this lead to some kind of continuous mining process? If it's not in situ, could we significantly reduce the amount of milling energy required? Another one is how might we look at preconditioning to create more surface area, really at that graying boundary to expose more mineral, to increase downstream recovery? And how might we use preconditioning to enable in situ recovery? So moving towards zero waste mining. So we've got 2 objectives for this challenge. So identify technologies that can be used effectively for preconditioning on a broad range of ore types. But we also want to understand what is the knowledge of the ore body that we need to know to understand where these different technologies are going to be amenable. So critical minerals extraction. So copper and nickel deposits commonly contain minor amounts of critical metals, such as cobalt, rare earths, molybdenum. So it's common for these minerals not to be recovered with the primary ore, often because the underlying structure is complex. You often have to use additional processes, which can be quite expensive or complex to add to your other process. And given the primary miner is often targeting, the copper or the nickel, potentially gold, silver, etc., these often go to a waste stream and into tailings. So the challenge in this space is, due to the escalating demand for critical metals, there has been a considerable amount of research conducted as to how we might refine existing processes and developing novel techniques to extract these additional minerals. The feasibility of extracting these critical minerals has been established. Most cases have not yet reached economic viability from what we've seen. And that's typically due to the low grades and complex mineralogy. The challenge primarily stems that the minerals are dispersed among various other minerals, necessitating distinct processes and chemicals for extraction. But if we're looking at an established mine, these are sitting in a tailings dam. You've already extracted it from the ground. It's already gone through a grinding process. Therefore, we think, especially for the tailings or a waste stream from a concentrator, potentially there's a viable economic solution in this space. So we've got two objectives. So to think differently about how we might advance processing techniques for both existing and untapped deposits to increase the recovery of critical minerals. With a focus on cobalt, rare earths, and molybdenum. And can we extract these from a nickel sulfide flotation tailings? The second point being to explore how we might viably extract cobalt, rare earth elements from copper tailings in general. And the final one we're introducing today is around the carbon economy. So as our societies transform to net zero, through a combination of changes in energy use, we need to explore opportunities to sequester and offset emissions that may be generated across our operations and society at large. So we want to combine nature-based solutions with technologies that may capture, store, or use CO2 that are applicable to the mining context and the regions in which we operate, and deliver a holistic carbon management strategy. Mining operators have started to make significant headway in this space. For example, electrifying trucks is underway. First Mode have got their hydrogen trucks established. We're seeing BHP and others advance sequestration through weathering of nickel host rocks, capturing a significant amount of CO2. But the thinking is largely industry focused and around specific operations. Where we want to think differently is how might we expand that thinking and develop broader strategies. For example, how do we build an ecosystem which supports carbon sequestration and then feeds into the local agricultural lands. So the challenge is we're looking to partner with people who think about carbon economics, management, and technologies, and explore how we might think about this in mining. We're looking to understand how we might design carbon management strategies that consider all stages of the mining project life, from design through to closure. We want to think beyond mining and how we might develop those strategies with other key stakeholders, pastoralists, local communities in our supply chain. We would like to explore the unique opportunities that mining industry has. So with our knowledge of natural solutions for carbon sequestration, that could help the broader carbon sequestration strategies. And we're looking to explore how a range of carbon sequestration and storage solutions can be considered in the mining context.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Chris. So emerging technology makes up one really important part of the roadmap, but how we integrate them to provide value for all of our stakeholders and the industry is equally important at TAD. So we're all about both the what and the how coming together. And to that end, we're seeking interested members of the ecosystem like you to help us frame two potential challenges or opportunities. Where this goes is in the hands of the collective. So we have the first one is around how we might identify opportunities and threats to data collaboration across the industry. And second, how might we increase the perspectives contributing to how all stakeholders gain value through their interactions with us across the life cycle? So we'll be curating invitations to these very exclusive discussions in coming weeks. And we're inviting all of you to use the QR code on your screen and register your interest very, very quickly to let us know if you'd like to be in the room and contribute your perspectives and learn from others in the ecosystem on either of these topics as we hold those conversations. So with that, I'm just going to very quickly touch on a little bit about why you might like to work with us. TAD recognizes very, very dearly that one size does not fit all. So if you submit your idea, we'll work with you to tailor an experience that meets both of our needs. But among other things, we support innovators like you with mentors, access to data, resources, and people with valuable expertise from across our growing ecosystem. We're not seeking to own IP, but we would like to help innovators to de-risk their ideas and be able to use that technology if we are able to contribute to unlocking the modern mind together. Now, this is our first open house since Oz Minerals became part of BHP, and we have really enjoyed getting to know the humans at BHP and been excited to see that we're working to empower a lot of the same changes in the system. So we're still at the start of our co-design journey in terms of what that looks like in detail, but we didn't want to miss the opportunity to let you know about other chances to explore change. So I'm going to introduce Mariel Renteria, who is part of the broader BHP innovation team and someone I've really enjoyed getting to know. She's going to talk to you about some challenges that are going on in that space and make sure we connect all the dots together. Over to you, Mariel.
Thanks so much, Jess. It's really fantastic to have the opportunity to be with you today. I see perhaps many people also joining from South America, which is great. So as Jess mentioned, it is an important webinar today, a great opportunity to have or see this fusion among TAD and BHP that for sure will bring more value and the opportunity to become better innovation partners and collaborators across the mining industry and beyond. So I will share today one of our challenges. So sustainability sits at the core of what we do in BHP, and together with that, so we talk about the carbon economy as well. But in the space of sustainability, tailing management has become very relevant, and in context, BHP joined efforts with Rio Tinto during the last 2 years to share knowledge and experiences across the topic. And this ended up offering a consortium that we announced late last year. This consortium is helping to really bring people together across both companies. And as I said, sharing knowledge, but most important is how we open these our doors to other innovators across the ecosystem. So we are very glad to say that we are having this open goal to bring the opportunity to share our challenges and listen from you. If we go to the next one, this challenge is going to be very focused on the watering technologies in these 6 topics. So I will share a bit of them. So the first one is thickening, filtering, and other preparations for tailings assisted watering. So the pre to the dewatering process. Then we're going to center also efforts in how we actually run that dewatering process. And we have different principles that we know that we want to listen more disruptive approach, either if it's chemical, mechanical, or physical principles. We also want to hear about material handling and transport for the dewatered tailings, including slurry, paste, and filter cake. We are also looking for technologies that can help us in the placement and the position of the water tailings, also the monitoring or remediation, and finally, any type of technologies that can assist the mastering content, physical or geotechnical and chemical stability of tailing facilities. We have a bunch of people, technical and commercial people, helping us to assess these innovations and participants and teams applying for this open goal. This is an unrolling process. I will explain a bit how to run this application, but the basis of this analysis and assessment will be focused on 5 criteria. First is how holistic is the tailing management. If we stay in the previous one, how holistic is the tailing management solution? If this represents a breakthrough improvement in the way that we understand tailing dewatering, and because we are already assessing many options in the market, but what is different, what is novel about those technologies that can help us to bring a more cost-effective and efficient way to do it. How suitable are these technologies for high volume? Also, we are looking for, of course, early stage technologies. In this case, we are very open to work with technologies below TRL7. And the most important thing is we want to generate value. So it is important for us to know how our contribution will help to scale and accelerate the development of those technologies. Next, please, Holly. So why to work with us? This is very important because we take very seriously when we open our challenges and expect to have others collaborating with us. We really have a commitment in this space, and a proof of that is a demonstration plan being built for filtering in one of our operations in BHP. So we are working with Rio Tinto, even though it's seated in one of our sites in BHP, we are working with Rio Tinto to share experiences, to bring their knowledge to that pilot. So we expect that one of the technologies that apply for this open call will get a chance to do or to run a similar process. What we offer is access to our mining domain knowledge and technical insights, many subject matter experts, people on site and operations, and understand our tailings and live with our challenges day by day. Also, funding to support this technology development and evaluation through the journey. So we know that the funding process is challenging, particularly in the tailing landscape. So we really want to support economically also the innovators that can work with us. And finally, and no less important, access to our actual tailings material and data. So the sampling process, I know is not necessarily easy to find. And we have a very, very wide range of mine types and commodities that can offer the opportunity to test your technology. Next, please, Holly. So the process is an open call, means it is an rolling process of assessment. We don't have a deadline, a sharp deadline. It's over this year. We're going to receive applicants and participants looking to work with us. And we are going to have a month of assessment and provide feedback to the participants. If the feedback is positive and you are meeting the criteria I already expressed, we are going to offer the opportunity to have a collaboration with us. It will be case by case in how it looks like in terms of time frame, type of funding. It's a very open space to really discuss this one-on-one with the participants. There is here a code, so you can, I encourage you to really go through the website to really find more information. And I have just one slide more, Holly, before jumping to the conversation, that really wants to bring a bit of the overview of what we're doing besides tailing management. So we are also working in decarbonization in how to find the fastest way to achieve net zero. And in that space, we have a bunch of different type of work streams on that left side. So mine electrification, clean fuels, fugitive emissions, abatement and measurement, power generation, power storage, carbon utilization and storage that Chris shared a bit the thinking behind, and innovative mining concepts. There are two topics coming. I'm not allowed to share so much because we'll be a very exciting launching coming with Unearthed. I think Felicity is also in the call. So we are looking to launch this officially in the coming days. But two topics here that you need to be aware. Fugitive methane emissions abatement and measurement is coming as a challenge, and also below water table mining. That's from my side. Over to you, Jess and Holly.
Thank you so much, Mariel. And thank everyone on the line for all of your time. If you're here, you belong in our ecosystem. So joining is obligation-free and very light on comms, but it is definitely the best way to find about the work that we're doing and the work that we're planning. So if you do this now, you'll be the first to also hear about an opportunity that we have coming up to host a table at our expense at a cross-industry symposium with MIT in Melbourne in July, and also all the updates on the challenges you're hearing about and the work that we're planning over the next months and years. So just scan the QR code or visit thinkactdifferently.com.au, our virtual engagement room, which also has all of our white papers and design philosophies and information about the members of the team, and a rather shameless plug, the links to the Modern Mining podcast, which you can download from Apple or Spotify. All of the 6 episodes, including one with Holly and I on there, are available now. So if you can flip to a slide that doesn't have my face on it, I'm happy to take questions.
There we go. I'll stop there.
Thanks. Questions from anybody? You can type them in the chat. You can pop your hand up. Holly's going to facilitate them because she's got her eyes on all the screen.
Yeah, feel free. Yeah.
So many faces.
Pop anything in the chat, or if you want to raise your hand, I feel like we have these reactions. If anyone wants to just jump on or come off mute and ask a question, feel free. Thanks, Jenny.
Oh, that's awesome, Jenny.
Um,
Podcast was literally the scariest thing I've ever done. Holly is a total pro, and so is Katie, and I'd never done anything like it before. If we are currently working with BHP on some of these challenges, do we need to reapply? Good question, Ivor. I think probably the short answer is we are still working to integrate all of the work. So I'm speaking with everyone in the BHP innovation team every single day to look for those crossovers and opportunities. So feel free just to give us a note and say, we're already working on this. How might we bring it together? But also we are looking for those opportunities quite actively as well. I wouldn't say you need to go through another formal application, but as always, you know how to get in touch with us. I'd love for you to identify those connection points if you see them as well.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
No, this is the time when I start putting the TAD team on the spot with questions until other people put them in the chat. But I will say, take advantage of, there's a lot of technical expertise from across the TAD team and on the current projects as well. So if you have any questions that are more specific technically, feel free to jump on in. And Carl, go for it.
Carl's got his hand up, yeah.
I figure somebody better put their hand up. Instead of typing in the chat. The cool webinar and introduction. Thank you, and it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces around the table. Chris, and Bernhard and a few others. So the question I have is more. You talk about building an ecosystem. How about ecosystems of ecosystems? So, for example, at Rethink Mining and Rethink Mining Ventures, we have ecosystems of people, organizations, mining companies, including BHP and Rio Tinto, a number of companies in Canada, Europe, US, Australia, addressing some of these problems, already looking at these problems. So how do you connect the ecosystems to the ecosystems
I think
versus
it's
the individual solution supplier?
Absolutely. Look, that's something we spend a lot of time working on. So we do a lot where we bring together and possibly those two framing opportunities where we've said, put your hat in the ring if you want to have a seat at the table. We curate those conversations to bring together as many people from other industries, other symposiums, other countries, to figure out how we can cross-collaborate within collaboration circles. So it's something that we constantly experiment with and are really, really open to doing anytime at all. If you have
music to my ears, thank you.
Yeah, if you have specific opportunities you'd love to discuss, reach out to me. I'm always open to figuring out how we can do that together.
Perfect, thank you.
Bernadette.
Thanks, Holly. It's probably another ecosystem theme question. If we are working on an idea and we see other groups on this call where we think there's synergistic involvement or they're playing some piece of the puzzle, should we just continue to submit our ideas separately and reference that they could be part of the solution, or should we contact them directly and say, I think you're part of our idea, should we collaborate and combine and on a submission?
Mine's always both. Something we're really proud of is in our convergence process, we do actually try to introduce people who we think have complementary solutions and help them form teams to amplify their hypothesis and their solution. But always we think people talking to each other is the right thing to do. So my first gut would be both. I think there's
Great.
Hi, everybody. Great to be back again talking to you, wonderful people. Just a focus question about the carbon economy, that part of it. The discussion was mainly about carbon capture and nature-based methodology to pull the carbon out and to store it. Are you interested in ways to avoid the emissions in the first place, or is this particular challenge focusing on that other, the back end of the process?
Brett or Chris, do you want to have a go at answering that one? Conscious I'm holding the floor.
Hey, Craig, it's good to see you again.
Hi, Brett.
I would suggest, Craig, the focus should be on capturing the carbon rather than eliminating the carbon. We've got lots of other initiatives underway already, and obviously we've been talking to you over the journey as well. So, and we're very, very aware of your capabilities. So I would suggest we should just be focusing on the capture. Assume it's already emitted approach.
Okay, thanks very much. Here. Okay.
Brett,
And
while you
also
got
at
the
the-
floor, I was going to say, do you want to take Ray's as well on the critical minerals question? So he's asked the best way to frame a submission that will add value, since it's quite site specific, but BHP has such a broad portfolio. Just while you're going, you might as well hit that one.
I think for the purpose of sorry, I should say hello, Ray. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Brett.
Good to see you again. I think for the purpose of the submission, we'd be focused on understanding people's capabilities and the sorts of technologies that they might bring to the table. And as a result of that, joining the dots from a capability perspective, we would then look to share some more specific data about some of the mineralogies that are involved, Ray, rather than trying to share, mineralogy specific to specific assets with a much broader audience.
That's a
We'll just
tough
jump in.
one, Brett. I've done a chunk of work on rare earths lately in the last 2 years, and there's no such thing as generic. And to make any money out of it, it's definitely not generic. It's incredibly tough business if you look at what's out there that other people do and all that. So it's sort of almost, without being specific, it's almost, to my mind, not worth submitting. So that's my challenge.
Okay.
Because the technologies that are out there already quite publicised. It's how they fit to what you've got that makes a difference. So in that sense, I'm not sure how you go about it. It's a particularly tough area. Cobalt's not so bad, but rare earths are a very messy area to work in. So I'd like to think that maybe if you really want to get movement for BHP and that, a little bit more information would tell us what to do.
That is super helpful advice, Ray. So I think,
sorry to be difficult, but
Good feedback. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here. So I think it's good advice. And Jess, maybe we should take that offline and figure out how we tackle that issue, because
Certainly.
We could probably put together some information that we have already.
Yeah,
if
we have
you like it, I can give you something generic on rare earths at some stage. I've written a paper on it recently, but I'll think about whether it's terrible or not. It might help to tell you what I'm coming from.
Thanks, Ray.
And on that, for that, Ray, there is some information already on the challenge page about the mineralogy and concentrations. It's quite high level, but if you can be more, if there's not enough detail, or you need kind of, I don't know, chem scan images or something, what else? Let us know, because we did try and put some information in there.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, so I've read that. I've seen that before, actually, so that was okay.
I'll just quickly reply to Tony as well. So Tony's noted that the recent Open Innovation open house window closed last week, but it's reopened until August. So just for clarity, the open house was a bit of, I always talk about experiments on how we run experiments. So we've been framing really specific challenges for quite some time. And what we wanted to do was challenge ourselves to make sure we weren't down selecting too quickly. So we created the open house as something that is actually open all year round. We do close it every quarter, but it doesn't stay closed. And that's just the formal assessment period to say about every quarter, we'll try to put together a cohort and amplify the possibilities within what ideas have come to us. But that said, we're very impatient and I look at them every week. So always get your ideas in. We love hearing about them. We love meeting with you. I've had one-on-ones with more people this year than I can count, just to understand their submissions and help them figure out how they might be able to adapt those into the work plans that we're creating, and how we might be able to help them further de-risk the ideas that they have. So it is always open. There is a nominal quarterly kind of reset, but the open house never closes. The rooms in the house, so there's specific areas that Chris talked about earlier, and some of the other ones, those we do close out when we have particular projects and timelines and deadlines that have been created. Is that helpful?
There's a couple of questions there, just one from Simon and one from Ben, which kind of I think is similar. So around from like new and emerging tech, that Simon's particular to carbon emissions monitoring and capture. How does TAD help to streamline tech to trials in the field? And that, you know, how do we streamline that timeframe? And to a similar question Ben asked, how do you kind of take an innovation to the next level if it's already been validated for BHP and is ready to kind of scale across the business? And I don't know if Jess, you can answer them. Maybe Mariel, it's an opportunity for you to talk from BHP perspective too.
Yeah. So I guess from a process perspective, when a new idea comes in, the first thing we do is assess it, figure out where we might be able to apply it, and then we'll have a really quick technical one-on-one with the person who submitted that open house or room in the house idea to understand it better and figure out how we might be able to test it and what an experiment looks like. So the first step is always, what is the test that we want to do together? And then usually within a few months that can get up and running. So that's something that we are proud to do as quickly as possible. My challenge is to get people onboarded with the least documentation and the least risk and the most value as quickly as we can. And that's something I'm always challenging myself to do. So we tend to say those first run experiments, we try to get done and dusted within sort of 3 to 4 months, including that onboarding process. And then from there, the scaling component is a little bit different. There's a few different ways we might do that. So one is within our business and scaling and testing at the projects that we have in our work plan. And the other way is through joint ventures that we have with other organizations. I think Burkhart's on the line. We've been really careful to curate in the waste to value space, for example, other mining companies around the world that we test with. We also have other initiatives in play with test mines. So we try to find the right opportunity to scale and connect you with that. And then the way we manage that, the ecosystem of ecosystems conversation rears its head again. And that's how do we, even if we don't test it at one of our sites, how do we stay connected and share the insights together and do that in an open but non-competitive way? Do you want to comment, Mariel, from a BHP point of view?
Sure thing. And it's very similar indeed. So there is a lot of CCUS, so carbon capture, utilization, and storage in the market already. As you mentioned, some of them emergent type of technologies, and we are looking to partner them. So in terms of how it works, de-risking these technologies on site. So we are a sort of middleman. You can guess that we have customers internally that are our assets, our sites. So our work in innovation is to really help you, the innovators, to get as fast as possible to have those trials and really create value for our operations. So to really work in that space, I don't say that it's easy, but it's possible. And the journey we have been having with those companies to really help them, similar to what Jess explained, to de-risk and accelerate those technologies, running small trials, perhaps not on site at the beginning to really prove the concept, using the language of what means de-risking in BHP, and then try to do that same on site. So my advice is to get in contact with us. That's the reason we are in this open house, to really have the opportunity to meet you. And if you are one of them, please reach to me. I'm more than happy to run through the process and also connect you if it's not necessarily seated in our space. But I will highlight something that Chris mentioned regarding the use of mine waste. So what we have, the capabilities we have on site to capture carbon, it is a priority for us to use tailings, brain, slags, whoever might be CO2 reactive is part of the equation in the carbon economy.
Thanks, Mariel. I thought that was helpful.
All right, Chris, there is a question in the chat for you.
So it's saying it's great that we're looking at preconditioning, but we also need to take hand in hand the selectivity or lixiviants. Fully agree, Iva. Preconditioning, ideally we're weakening the rock to make it easier for us to extract it, or we're creating that surface area within in situ so that we can apply those lixiviants. We do have another portfolio of work, another work we're doing in the lixiviant space, both chemical and non-chemical. So I call it more of a leaching as opposed a leaching kind of subset of technologies. So that could be biological, it could be lixiviant, chemical, or other. So definitely not done in isolation.
Thank you.
Now, I'm not sure who wants to take this question from Krishna. Is there any interest in developing process flow sheets for recycling EV batteries?
There are some work from our side, I need to say, from innovation and vendors. Another good thing is that our ecosystem is also being enhanced through the BHP Ventures team. So we are working in EV batteries recycling. So there is not an active open challenge at this point. But again, so the idea to have this conversation, if you are interested on that and you have approached that, please reach to us because we can connect you with the right person.
Okay.
Thanks, Mariel. One other thing I wanted to add on the carbon economy challenge, and the reason we named it carbon economy is we do want people to challenge their thinking beyond just technologies and think about those broader strategies. So we're really interested for people who are working in that space around carbon management that aren't just thinking about the technology aspects, but the whole strategy as well. So if you are interested in that space, or you know people working in that space, then we'd love to hear from you on that as well. Bernadette, I see you've got your hand up, but I feel like that's your original question, but feel free to jump on if you have another question.
No, sorry, I forgot to put it down.
That does just stay there. All right. Any other, feel free to, so if anyone has any other questions, put them in the chat or raise your hand. I wonder, here we go, Krishna, again, any work being done on conditioning using cryogenic technology? No.
Not yet.
It's definitely of interest, and can you get it to an economic state, I think, for that specific technology. But keen to talk about it.
So I guess just generally, like all these questions about specific areas of interest, I think the bottom line is we're interested in any of your ideas. That's what the open house is for. Throw them at us and we'll have a conversation and figure out if we can make them fit. And if it doesn't apply to the work we're doing yet, we just keep it on hold until we can find the right kind of conversation to connect it to. So the more the better.
Great. I'll give people a few more minutes to pop some questions in, and also invite if there's anyone else from the TAD or BHP teams that would like to share a little bit about what they're working on and things that are key interests, feel free to jump on while we wait for quite a few questions. I won't put you on the spot though, I promise.
Mariel, I had a question on, you responded to recycling EV batteries and that you all are working on it. I didn't kind of catch on how I might be able to, I mean, I just want to learn about it, and I've kind of had experience, you know, looking at lead acid battery technology quite some while ago, but trying to put both physical and chemical separation methods so that we can come up with an optimum flow sheet, you know, or that uses, you know, both chemistry and physics, you know, to have an optimum process, you know. And I wasn't sure how exactly you mentioned I might be able to, you know, first of all, learn about what you're doing and see whether any of my ideas will be worthwhile looking at, you know.
No, fantastic, Krishna. What I will do is I will connect you offline. So to redirect, as just mentioned, there is we are a huge group and team. So the idea is to really help you to connect the best way in BHP across our team. So just let's connect offline and share what we are doing, how we are approaching this challenge. But it is a central thing in our electrification strategy. So more than happy to share with you what we are doing and hear about your ideas as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I have all of Krishna's details, Mariel. I'll follow up with you after.
Thank you.
And Iva, you mentioned about talking a bit more on selecting lixiviants. I don't know if Chris, if you want to comment any more on the school, or take that one offline as well.
Yeah, no, I was just offering to link up and have a further discussion with Chris if he's interested.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, happy to take you through that.
Okay, a couple of more questions coming through from Philip. Is there any interest in developing green sustainable lixiviants for critical mineral extraction to reduce the footprint of the mining process? I would say yes.
Absolutely, yes.
And as to Chris's point before, there's a fair bit of work being done in that space, you know, bioleaching and other options as well. But that's, I guess, an area that we're really interested to explore. The critical minerals challenge.
One thought occurred whether, you know, you can use supercritical CO2 as a lixiviant, you know.
Very interesting.
Or even
any options.
Yeah, even to precondition the rock, Krishna.
Yeah.
And on that, there's a company in Vancouver, Envisioning Labs. It's actually using supercritical CO2 for preconditioning.
Really?
They were part of the Crush It Challenge about 3-4 years ago. They were one of the 6 finalists.
Yeah, we've done some experiments with supercritical in the past too. Excellent.
Awesome. And Gary just asked about integration of technology and process flow sheets. Are there any flow sheets specific to the cobalt and rare earth extraction processes that can be shared? And Gary, is that in terms of what's been trialed to date?
Holly, I think, and Gary, hi. Look, we don't have a very specific flow sheet in mind, and I think that's what we're asking all of you to come to us with. It's this is an opportunity for you to throw your ideas at us, and you know we'd work with you to try to work out how that integrates with the specific opportunities that we have from a resource perspective.
Yeah, Brett, I think there was mention earlier that a lot of these critical minerals are in tailings. So yeah, just trying to get some sort of context of what we're trying to integrate a technical solution into.
Yeah, it's a good point, Gary. I think the context here is existing tailings. So, you know, for example, Prominent Hill and Carapatina, which are 2 assets that I'm familiar with, have quite a lot of rare earth associated with monazite in tailings already. And at Prominent Hill, there's already hundreds of millions of tons of that material already ground up and processed and sitting in a tailings dam. But equally, there are new resource developments that we're looking at, and one example I can offer is the Kalkaroo project that I'm working on, which is a project in South Australia. And you know, we know that there are rare earths and cobalt and moly present in those resources, but obviously it's a blank canvas because it's a resource development project. So I think the approach potentially is quite different. And how do we valorize those additional elements when traditionally that project has been considered as a copper gold project to try to create some more value. So it's kind of 2 different contexts. That's the kind of thinking we have at the moment.
Krishna, again, I had one more comment on, the line of conversation that we are having right now. And at Asarco's Ray mine, for example, we did some testing on SXCW solutions and found certain rare earths that were present, and did some initial experiments on using ion exchange to extract, So again, and so one of the things might be, is it a more common phenomena that in copper pregnant leach solutions do contain rare earths? If that's the case, then, and we can recover some of it by ion exchange, one can think of putting ion exchange cassettes at these and then have a central processing facility to recover the rare earths from that. Again, very initial stages of process development, but I just thought I'd put it on the table.
Thanks.
Thanks, Krishna.
All right, we'll give people a couple more minutes. I don't think there's any other questions coming through, but give people a couple more minutes before we close out. And in the meantime, I'll just say, before passing over to Jess, to say thanks to everyone. For follow-up, we will send out a recording of this to everyone. I've popped a link in the challenge to the TAD virtual engagement in the chat to the TAD virtual engagement room, so you can jump on there, register for the ecosystem, register for any challenges. We're all pretty easy to get hold of as well. If you have any questions, please contact us via email or on any of the forums of the challenge pages as well. And as Jess kind of said, these kind of are rolling applications. So anytime you submit to the challenge, we'll take a look at that straight away and review it internally and get back to you. So excited to see what comes through. Jess, I'll pass over to you to close out.
Just a big thank you. I love seeing all these faces and questions first thing in the morning. Well, it is in Adelaide anyway. So really, really grateful for your time and for your interest. And I hope that you'll can stay connected and let us know how we can help. I've got a couple of takeaways to get back to people on, and I'm grateful for all the feedback and all the interest. Beautiful. Thank you, Holly, for hosting. Thank you, Chris and Mariel, for speaking, and Brett for your help with the questions. Have a great day, everybody.